Yeah. There'll always be a technical glitch before I start. Somehow it's consistent with it. So I'll be talking today about Rastar-ryaak to Insta-ryaak, the evolution of streets in digital age. Now I come from Calcutta, a city which is really known for its very vibrant street life. So Rastar-ryaak, any Bengalis here? Oh, quite a few. Okay, so you do understand what I'm really referring to, and those who are not from Calcutta. Mic is not working. Everything is not working digitally, technically. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, yeah. So in Calcutta, it's very common to see people, and I think in the first half of the lecture, I think Professor Rajkumar talked about Dipesh Chakravarti's work on Adda. And Calcutta is some place which is known, if you walk on the streets of Calcutta, you will see people sitting on the streets, from talking about anything and everything, the cricket match and how Virat Kohli's captaincy did rubbish, to what Mamata is doing, which is there, or what Modi ji should do, to what Trump should be doing next. Okay, so this is a very commonplace kind of a streetscape that if you look into Kolkata, it's this constant interaction, this constant life that takes place. So Rock is that kind of a place which is part of the street where you sit, see the world, discuss, understand, and share it. From there, when I look at the street today, if you look at from where I come personally, okay, the kind of time that I spend actually on the street when I was growing up to the kind of time that I spent now on the street is hardly minimal time of it. Today what I do is, even when I'm free, I'd rather not walk on the street, but sit at a corner. I think yesterday only Shravan clicked a picture of mine. I'm sitting on the steps of the Ghat. I'm seeing the Ghat at the same time, I'm browsing my phone. So today the street and the phone seems to have, or the mobile device that is on our hands, sometimes seems to have sort of collated together. So I went down, and Vikram very kindly, I told him, winter में Banaras में आए हैं तो मक्खन मलाई और ना खा के कैसे मैं जा सकती हूँ. So he took me out to this place where there was, he said it's very well known for makhan malayo. Now, before I even tasted the makhan malayo, I was instantly clicking pictures of the makhan malayo. And what I did was, before even tasting the makhan malayo, I had to take it and actually take a good photograph and several angles to it, and then load it on my Instagram handle. Yes, here I am with the makhan malayo. Okay, I have not tasted it. I'm on the streets of Banaras, and I'm instantly on the streets of Instagram. Okay, now that's where I start here, where is that, in the contemporary time, how is the street really evolving? Not just the physical space of it, how we are located on the street, but the street along with the digital media. Somewhere both have actually conflated together. It's a continuation of the both together. So whenever we are talking about the street, the thing that stands out about the street that, whether it is the session in the morning or the session before me where Shravan has been talking about it, that street is not something which is fixed. Street is something which talks about a flow. And when you talk about a flow, it's not about the fixity of it, but it is about the interconnections that you have. So the interconnections that I'm really going to highlight here is not just about the street, but the interconnections are the flows of people, the flows of idea, the flows of knowledge, commodity. Okay, and how that sort of integrates with our interaction with digital media as well. Because I think both together creates and circulates this kind of flow of knowledges, people, ideas, and everything put together. So if you look at the street, I think you really can't be talking about the street without really talking about it, without a digital or an Instagram reference to it. I came to Banaras, and I actually saw a vlogging by one of the students here. I don't know whether he's present here or not. Vivek, I think, who does a regular vlogs on Banaras. And I just saw his vlog on Banaras and said, "Itna thand hai, kap kapa rahe hai." Okay, so I immediately packed my suitcase. Half of my suitcase is filled with winter clothes because Banaras kap kapa rahe hai because of Vivek. And I'm just here without a sweater, standing without a sweater. Kuch kap kapa hai nahi rahe. Can we change now? Oh, one thing before, would you just go back? Just have a look into this picture. This is an AI-generated one. Okay, and I'd like you to just have a look at it, and then we'll come back to it later on if we have the time, we will discuss this as well. Okay, this is an AI-generated image. Now, as I said, that the experience of the street is so much involved with the kind of posts that come on Instagram or any of the social media platforms. Okay, and what you see here is actually, what I'm trying to introduce to you is different forms of seeing and different forms of mapping. When we map, we just do not have to traditionally or conventionally just stick to a usual 2D or a 3D map that we have been drawn to. There can be different forms of mapping, and perhaps the mobile device that we have and the camera that we have and our access to the social media actually democratized knowledge making and democratized the way we represent space and actually map space and put it up, different forms of mapping, put it up in the public platform. And the knowledge that we ourselves create by living in those streets and actually taking a photograph of those streets. Okay, so this is, what I'll show you is a pictorial journey of a friend of mine who is an engineer in the Silicon Valley, and he came down to Calcutta. And he took this series of photographs and posted it on Facebook. In those days, Facebook was much more popular, and Facebook, as you know, is part of the older generation like us. Okay, dinosaurs post on Facebook, younger people post on Instagram, right? So these are Facebook posts. Okay, the series of posts, if you look at the first scene, it's he landed at night, and it's the street that leads from the airport of Calcutta into the city. Okay, just have a look. The next is, along with it, is as he's traveling along the streets. This is the iconic yellow taxis of Calcutta. Okay. Then he comes down to his locality, and these are the pictures that he clips about what he sees in Calcutta. Okay. If you look at all those three pictures, it is talking about the Calcutta that we left behind. Okay, this is age-old us when we looked at Calcutta and what we saw when we were young on the streets of Calcutta, and actually trying to look at, we used to have something called Bador Khela. I don't know, a man used to come playing with the monkey. So he somehow found a man who was showing the Bador Khela. Okay, this is a typical thing, the mother holding the child coming from the bazaar, and taking him out. And those are hand-drawn rickshaws, which is almost, extinct from the streets of Calcutta. If you would go on to the next one. Okay. And again, this is a typical, winter's afternoon in Calcutta, where you have, the Bengalis known for their umbrella. Come rain, come winter, come sun, come anything. Okay, the omnipresent umbrella. God may not be there, but the umbrella will be there with the Bengali. Okay, so you have the omnipresent umbrella, a lady walking with the umbrella down. And on the other hand, you have the typical roadside tea stall, okay, where a man is drinking tea and observing the life going by. And that's how we spend much of our time in Calcutta, just standing on the streets of, the typical chai ki dukan. As we know, the chai wala is really famous these days. So, but we made it more famous when we were there. We used to stand and drink tea most often on the streets of Calcutta and just see life going by. Okay. If you look at the next two pictures again, it's like, he's wrapping up and coming back, back to states, going back to states. And if you look at, and if anybody is from, again, a lot of people from Calcutta, and if you can look at the picture there, is that it's a truck filled with people. Now, if you know truck filled with people or buses filled with people, you know where they are going. Either they're going to Maidan or they're going somewhere else to go for a protest. As Shravan said, streets are known for resistance and protests. So we have truck field of people going down for protest. And lastly, and not last and but not the least, the Padar Goli, that is the locality goli where you enter your house just in the, nice, quiet afternoon with 3 lazy dogs, an extension of ourselves, lying around and sleeping and having a peaceful time. So if you look at how he's mapped, from the streets, he's actually mapped his experiences of Kolkata and how he wanted to look back at Kolkata. Okay, and what the streets of Kolkata represented to his lived life in Kolkata itself. So when you look at digital media, it's very interesting is that, when we say that, when we talk about geography as something which is dying, or when we talk about space as something which is dying, and we are often looking at its relevances. Here comes Instagram, which is actually documenting every moment spent in space. And it's capturing the most ordinary to the most extraordinary moments of our lives in space. And it's really mapping in a completely different manner than we talk about those typical kinds of maps that we've come across. Okay, so this is possibly an interesting way of actually having a view of the street and the lives lived on the streets. Yeah, so if I go back to this small little narrative out here, and I wish,
next page also.
Just, if you just have a look at this, the slide and briefly look at it, this is Humphreys writing on the streets of Calcutta, and he's a sort of a journalist who spent some time in Calcutta, and he talks about what life in Calcutta is about. And what life in Calcutta is about, if you read this particular narrative, is all about spending time on the streets of Calcutta. Okay, so much of life in Calcutta takes place on the streets, where you can have your hair cut, be shaved, have your fortune told, your washing, ironing, and cooking done, eat, bath, and sleep if you wish to, that the notion of personal space sinks to irrelevance. You are perhaps only reminded of the notion when walking across the Maidan, possibly the only truly open space anywhere in Kolkata proper, where you could confidently hurl a chapati in any direction without the fear of hitting someone. Even on those very rare occasions when you may believe yourself to be alone, you seldom are in fact. There will be any number of times when sitting to take a rest in some relatively quiet backwater, you hear a disembodied hello cast in your direction. It may take you some minutes to discover the source of this greeting, often found to be an open window, doorway, or a balcony above, where your unseen company has been loitering. If there is any corner of Kolkata where it is possible to be truly alone, then I am yet to find it. So interestingly, if you look at it, it's a very interesting depiction also of looking at the street, where the street is not really sort of restricted to the space of the street alone, but tends to sort of widen its scope to the outer spaces of the house, for example, the balcony or the window. And we have a great culture. When I moved into Delhi, I found it very strange that the only things you could find in the balcony is clothes hanging to dry. There were hardly any people sitting on the balcony and looking out. In Kolkata, if you see Satyajit Ray's Charulata, the first thing you see is that Charu is, those old louvered window. She puts down the window and she has a binocular. And through the binocular, through the lowered down louvered window, she just glances onto what is happening in the street and what is happening to the house across the street. Okay, so that is what the street is. Street is a space where, you sort of come together, see, interact, maybe speak, maybe look at one another, and that's how the street is looked at, which is not just the street, but goes beyond the markers of the street, actual markers of the street. Now, are we crossed time limits? Or do I have some time? Then I'll just sort of look at how the conceptualization really takes place of the street. Now, if you look at the street, I think what really informs us, and much of it also comes from what Shravan has already discussed before me, that the street, if you look at the street and how we treat the street, it comes from a very colonial discourse. It's very much embedded in the colonial discourse of the street. Now, we look at the street as this, a site of constant movement and circulation of people, as I've already said, and it's a simultaneous a node where it intersects and connects each one of us. But what the street is really looked at as that it's often viewed as a place of motion and commotion that goes on to create its chaotic character. And the Orientalist discourse of the street is that of disorder, dirt, congestion, danger, and the impossibility of moving or navigating through the streets. So if you connect to what I'm saying and to connect to what Shravan has already said, our vision of the street is to clear it away, okay, and bring some kind of order to the chaos that is there. So it's not, so you are looking at it from a perspective where, it's there is a complete need for regulating this chaos of life that is occurring on the streets of Indian cities, okay? So, and that's a perspective that often you look at, how people look at it. And if you look at what, the French philosopher Org talks about, if you read his book, Non-Places. Non-place is a place. It's also a place. It's a place, I think it's a place, where he talks about is where there is a lot of movement that is happening. Okay, street becomes a non-place. Nobody talks about a street as a place in itself, at least one that comes from Western literature. Okay, it talks about a non-place. Why it talks about a non-place? Because it's something which is transient. Because people are continuously flowing through it. There's a continuous movement to it. So there is not enough pause and time taking to take into account what is happening to the street and looking it as a place being formed. I think, and what Org then goes on to say that it's fleeting, temporary, and ephemeral, which appears to be a series of snapshots piled hurriedly together. And the series of snapshots indicates an overstimulating experience that challenges one's ability to discern and make sense of the city, thus causing disorientation. Okay, so if you look at the post-colonial, on the other hand, the post-colonial challenge to this construct or conceptualization of the street, is the best, I think one of the greatest critiques have been Tim Ingold, the anthropologist, who says that he critiques the colonial discourse by pointing out that walking on the street is largely viewed as mundane, everyday activity of the poor and the criminal, and hence of no consequence. Street is not to be seen as a repository of knowledge. You're just passing through it. You're not creating any kind of sense, and hence if you're not creating any kind of sense, you're not creating any kind of knowledge. So it is best to overlook it, since it's not creating anything useful for that matter. Okay, Arjun Appadurai, again another anthropologist, argues that the streets in India must be seen as reflecting their own unique public culture. And Shukanta Chaudhary says, in the context of Kolkata, that it refers to as the Calcutta culture that is so complex, so creative, so stably indigenized, and surpassing colonial confines to acquire an independent life. A culture that forms an integral part of seeing, understanding, and engaging with the city. So the street becomes a space of embodied practices and encounters with different people, with different cultures, sights, smells, sounds, and a rich sensory experience. So you're not just only looking at the street visually, but you're also, it's an all-encompassing sensorial experience. So you walk along the streets, you walk along the gullies of Banaras and you will smell the samosa being fried. You will smell the kachori being fried and served to you. You will smell the hot, the mithai ka smell and the, kya bolte hai usko? My Hindi is very bad. Okay, I am not getting the word currently. Whatever it is, you just imagine. Okay, and I'm sure you've experienced it. Okay, so you'll get these smells that float to you and come to you. And that holistically forms your experience of the street in itself. You look at the chaos, you don't look at the chaos, you look at as chaos per se. You look at it as the flavor of the city in itself. You know, where there's so many people bumping one against each other. That is what makes Banaras Banaras. That is what makes Banaras ki gali Banaras. Not an ordered form of Banaras where you are going in a single file. Jab tak dhakka na mare, thoda ram ram na bole, radhe radhe na bole, so that does not become part of that experience, right? So that is what that rich sensorial experience that you are talking about, so many people around you, so many chatter that is happening around you, okay, the colors that is coming out to you, you know, the sadhu sant that is sitting out there, the animals that are part of the landscape, okay, the flowers, the person on the side, amongst all that rushing around and the line to the temple, there are two people playing tash or playing chess, okay, quietly playing chess and then arguing about something or the other. Okay, in all this, this is all which becomes part of the essence of that sensorial experience that you have of the streets. So, going back to,
This one?
this one. So going back to what I was trying to say, that, if you look at the street is all about these everyday mobile practices that you have. Okay, that, and I come I don't know what, the culture of Banaras or roaming around the streets of Banaras, but from where I come from, Pada Barano is a thing. Okay, when we were young, Pada Barano. Pada is a locality. Okay, and Barano means roaming around. So, शाम को 4 बजे स्कूल से आने के बाद 2 बजे हमारे स्कूल ख़त्म होते थे, 2 बजे आने के बाद खाना खा पी के थोड़ा आफ्टरनून स्मॉल नैप लेकर 4 बजे का एक ग्लास मम्मी गरम दूध पिला देते थे, पीकर हम लोग सब दोस्त नीचे जाते थे पाड़ा वैराने के लिए, पूरा लोकेलिटी घूमना था हम लोगों को. So that is still there. So, niche nama, niche hata, mane going downstairs and walking downstairs, okay, or in the locality, okay. Rastar-ryaak boshe thaka, mane, sitting in that rock that I am talking about, and having an adda, okay, or more adda. There's endless adda in Calcutta, okay. So, and having these whole sets of informal conversation, and you don't have to have an adda. You will find people just sitting there with a cup of tea and just looking at other people, and we don't mind being looked at, okay, or looking at others. There's such great comfort level of being looked at and looking at people. It's a thing. देख रहे तो देख रहे, मजा ले रहे तो मजा ले रहे, हम भी मजा ले रहे, कोई बात नहीं है. Okay, so that is the kind of culture that you have. That it's that essence of that is the practice that you have, and through that practice, we look at people and we understand who is there, who is from which para. A parar chele noy. Beparar chele. We often say that. Beparar chele. Beparar me esche. And if there is boys are sitting there, young boys are sitting there, there is a excitement. Beparar me chole esche. Okay, somebody outside the para has come in. Okay, so that's how you sort of interact with the city, and that's how you sort of, from the street, that's how your mobile practice comes in. And so streets can be understood beyond public places solely about moving about, but there are also spaces for, as I said, I can't reiterate enough, there are also spaces for meeting, interacting, playing, and to see and be seen. So it's not just to see and be seen. Okay. Most of these mobile practices are like ghumna firna, are part of the leisure activities within the city that involves being socially engaged with the city, interacting with the people and seeing others in the city as well. These mobile practices form a large part, interestingly, and this is where I would like to conclude today's lecture, that these mobile practices form a large part of the posts made on social media platforms which document the richness of our lives lived in the city. So often we may say, and you will feel that a lot of people, I'll club myself as part of the older generation by age-wise only, not mentally. Okay, we may say that we are not spending much time on the streets. हाँ, पहले हम तो पता नहीं 4-4 घंटे, 6-6 घंटे रास्ते में बैठ के बिताते थे. कुछ आता पता नहीं, कल क्या होने वाला था, कुछ पता नहीं, आपको भी पता नहीं कल क्या होने वाला है. Okay, but what are we doing? We have replaced that 2 घंटा, 4 घंटा, 5 घंटा, 6 घंटा with our devices. Okay, and we are equally seeing the street, we are equally seeing these spaces, and we are equally interacting with them. Our interaction has not changed. We may not be physically on those spaces, but we are actually connected to those spaces digitally. We are engaging to those spaces digitally. We are making a comment. Sometimes, I don't know about y'all, but sometimes we see a post of a street being posted. Okay, we did not even know that the street was there or something interesting is happening out there. Okay, but what do? We immediately rush. वहाँ पर उस गली पे, उस चौराहे के उस मोड़ पे, वहाँ पर ऐसा चीज़ हो रहा है. So before I come to Banaras, I know exactly where to find Makhan Malayo. I know the street where I can, I'm interested in food, so I'll only talk about the food-wise things that I know of. Okay, कौन से गली में वो टोस्ट और मलाई टोस्ट और चाय मिलता है, कहाँ से कचौड़ी वाला गली कहाँ है. फिर पहले गधोलिया मोड़ पे मैंने ऑटो वाला को भी पूछ लिया, गधोलिया के अगल बगल में, आई एम अ बंगाली सो आई एन्जॉय माई फिश. सर बहुत अच्छा चावल और मछली मिलता था, लेकिन आजकल नहीं मिलता है, कहाँ चले गए वो लोग. तो आई आस्क्ड द ऑटो वाला कहाँ गए, बोला नहीं दूसरे एक स्ट्रीट में चले गए, वहाँ पर रीलोकेटेड होगा. सर अच्छा ठीक है, वी विल फाइंड माई सेल्फ देयर. सो I am also interacting, I'm seeing, and somebody may have posted something. Okay, some of the very detailed outcomes we are not aware, but somebody has posted, somebody has made a vlog, somebody has written something around it on the Instagram or any of the social media platforms that informs us and brings the thing out in us to engage with it. So maybe we should also have a relook also as to how we interact with the street. Interaction with the street does not mean that you're solely interacting with the street, just being on the physical space. Interaction also goes beyond the physical space now into the digital space as well. Thank you so much. I hope you've